Hello, everybody. This is Joe Firestone. That was Bonnie in the background. For empowering democracy. And the topic for this stream is, will they use reconciliation? Well, maybe they won't use reconciliation, but here's a piece that talks about how to do it and how relatively easy it would be. It goes back a ways to November 10th, but it's a very good piece by Dave Dayen, which I have just shared for you. Actually, I think I should take the time to share this to Facebook. So let me share that now. There we go. Well, somebody's here. But anyway, a reconciliation is available to end debt limit hostage taking, David Dayen says on November 10th, 2022. There's a picture of the Capitol. On the right-hand side, the same picture is sort of blurred. Though Democrats have an extremely narrow path, says Dave, to holding the House of Representatives, the expectation is that Republicans will eke out a narrow victory, largely on the strength of outsized performance in two states, New York and Florida. That was right. I think the Democrats lost 3 seats in New York and at least 2 in Florida, if I recall. So there we are. This has major implications for the final 2 months of legislative work in this Congress, nicknamed the lame duck section. Well, those 2 months are rapidly becoming only 1 month, because it's already November 25th. While Democrats have already signaled the end of the year session will be busy, one priority shines above everything else: the need to prevent the debt limit hostage situation before it develops by extinguishing this unnecessary anachronism entirely. And Democrats can do this, in contrast to many of their other priorities, by using the last unused tool for a majority vote in the Senate: the fiscal year 2023 reconciliation bill. That process, which can't be filibustered, would take just a few weeks in the lame duck, which means they still have time to do it, and include either raising the debt limit to some astronomically high amount or eliminating it entirely. It must be done before Republicans take the House and fulfill their stated plan to use the debt limit as a mechanism to force deep spending cuts they couldn't get otherwise. Now, of course, in a previous stream, I've pointed out that my preferred solution to this is for the president to have the Treasury Secretary tell the U.S. Mint to create $100 trillion 1-ounce platinum coin and deposit it up at the Federal Reserve in New York. But Dave likes, I suppose, the congressional route. That seems like it would be very easy to do, but let's see what he has to say. President Biden, in a Wednesday press conference, said he would not, that he was not going to negotiate over these programs under any circumstances, but any possibility of hostage taking is easy. And I have to comment here, why don't Democrats take the easy way out on these things? Why must they always have a knockdown, drag-out fight with the Republicans where the nation is brought to the brink of everything collapsing around us before they negotiate some settlement, which always gives the Republicans something? Why do the Democrats have to engage in that kabuki stuff? But ending any possibility of hostage taking is easy. Just take away the means by which Republicans can threaten the full faith and credit of the U.S. government and the integrity of the global financial system if they don't get their way. So tell me, isn't that what the Democrats should be doing, given the stakes? What are they fooling around with instead? Now, it's worth emphasizing that Congress should have to rely on yet another end run around the filibuster to accomplish something of value. Lawmakers should be able, as Ryan Grimm wrote on Wednesday, to abide by the closest thing to a midterm mandate and codify Roe v. Wade. They should be able to reinforce the right to same-sex marriage, whether Republicans agree to support it or not. But this would require tossing out the filibuster. And Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema have said time and again they are not interested in doing so. There might even be other options for the lame duck that have broad bipartisan support. Changes to the Electoral Count Act that would make it more difficult for Congress to overturn an election having been endorsed by Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. The stock trading ban almost certainly can cross any vote threshold. The Safe Banking Act, to allow cannabis-based businesses to get bank accounts, has won White House votes repeatedly, and there's an effort in the Senate to team that with other marijuana policies. The Biden administration has said they will make an effort in the lame duck to pass 2 tech antitrust bills. Even without any such bipartisan bills, Congress can fill the lame duck schedule with judicial and executive appointments in the Senate, which are vital if Senate control hinges on a Georgia runoff on December 6th in routine business. Of course, as we know, it does not hinge on the Georgia runoff on December 6th. The election secured the Senate for the Democrats without having that runoff. There are a couple of must-pass pieces of legislation funding the government after December 16th and passing the defense authorization bill. It's possible that some version of permitting reform which failed in the government funding effort could be appended to one of those bills, as could legislation that would enable the Justice Department to sanction OPEC nations for cutting oil production, funding to help Ukraine in its war with Russia, and some other items. God, what a list that is, so long. I could do without some of the items on that list. But nothing would have a more wide-ranging effect on policy and politics and be more inarguably necessary than neutralizing the debt limit. As a reminder, the debt limit does not authorize any new spending. It allows the government to pay the bills for spending already appropriated by the Congress. The debt limit was last extended a year ago and is set to offer enough breathing room to last until somewhere in spring 2023. Republicans have not been shy about saying they would use a debt limit as leverage to deal with social insurance programs undoubtedly through cuts or increases in the retirement age, which is functionally the same thing from a funding point of view. Ordinarily, raising or eliminating the debt limit runs into the same problem it faces all Senate legislation. It needs either 60 votes, thanks to automatic Republican filibusters, or 50 votes to eliminate the filibuster, neither of which it has right now. But this is where the newest reconciliation bill comes into play. Every budget includes the opportunity for reconciliation. The two most consequential bills in the first Biden term, the American Rescue Plan in 2021 and the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022, were a product of reconciliation. But today we are in fiscal year 2023, which started on October 1st. Congress has the ability to use the 2023 reconciliation bill right now, and reconciliation can be a vehicle to increase the debt limit. It was done 4 times in the 1980s and 90s. In fact, Mitch McConnell suggested exactly that path in 2021. He's well aware that this is allowed under the budget rules. At the time, Chuck Schumer called it a non-starter, but that no longer be operative. How would it work? Democrats would have to pass a 2023 budget resolution with instructions to committees for reconciliation. These could include raising the debt limit to 5 quadrillion or 100 quadrillion, or Graham's number for a simple example. Then the Senate could automatically discharge that reconciliation bill from committee and set up the familiar vote-a-rama, where senators can vote on really anything in an all-night session. The House has an even quicker process, namely after 20 hours of debate. Sorry, I said 20 years of debate. This would take up about 2 weeks, leaving enough time left over to take care of what else Congress wants or needs to take care of in a lame duck. Of course, it would have to walk around Senator Raphael Warnock's schedule as he campaigns in the runoff in Georgia, but that's not necessarily any longer true, because we have the other 50 Democratic senators, if they could be gotten on board for this bill. But it's very possible, and according to Democratic aides in Congress and the White House, it's on the table. That was as of November 10th. Since then, I've heard some people say that they're not interested in diffusing the debt limit through reconciliation. There have been thoughts that Mitch McConnell would participate in this diffusing of the debt limit bomb, but he's unlikely to give us such a plump hostage. Either this happens through reconciliation or it doesn't happen. House Democrats are ready to do it, some in the Senate as well. Failing to do so would be irresponsible. Republicans are vowing to force cuts to earn benefit programs that are a bedrock of the Democratic Party. The party campaigned on rejecting any such cuts, and the president has given an ultimatum. This would push them into an impossible choice to go back on their word or risk a default of U.S. debt. Neither is advisable or necessary. There's a third option that is available that has been used before and would permanently end the toxic politics that corrodes faith in government. That can be avoided. It's up to the leadership, and they need to figure it out, but quickly. Yes, they do, and I agree with that, and I agree it would be very valuable to do that. Especially raising it to 5 quadrillion or 100 quintillion, or Graham's number. But the point being, since there is so much to do, why couldn't the reconciliation bill couple 2 or 3 things? I believe that would be okay according to the rules as I understand them. It could have the debt limit in it. Okay, it could also pass funding the government after December 16th and passing the defense authorization bill at this time as well. It seems like if we couple those and put in the repeal of the debt ceiling in the same reconciliation bill, that it might be difficult for the Republicans to vote against that. Maybe we get a few Republican votes. Could they codify Roe v. Wade and incorporate it into the reconciliation bill? Well, Roe v. Wade is not a money issue. But it perhaps could be justified as a money issue because all those forced births that we would have without codifying Roe v. Wade do have financial consequences in relation to the money that would be spent on the forced birth. Of course, we know that Elizabeth McDonough would probably decide that codifying Roe v. Wade doesn't fit into the reconciliation framework, but all that would have to be done to put an end to that would be simply not to listen to her and to have the vice president reject the point of order that's involved okay, in any objection to that. And the president could shut his big mouth about respecting the parliamentarian, or even better, he could say he respects the parliamentarian and he respects her advice, but he notes the Senate is in no way constrained to take it. That senators are free to do what they want within the reconciliation framework. And in this case, he advises them to include codifying Roe v. Wade in that. And he also encourages them to quickly pass the reconciliation bill so we can dispense with any threats to create a debt ceiling crisis. So that's my advice on all that. I do think reconciliation is viable. It's going to be difficult to get it back in because I'm sure Congress is off this weekend. Then we have Monday, the 28th. Starts 3 more days in November. And we know the Congress people are going to want to get home for Christmas. Of course, it would be just a total disaster if they could not do that. Of course, the world would come crashing down if they could not get home for Christmas. But there are enough work days in December between November 28th and Christmas forget to get reconciliation bill done. If the Democrats had enough votes, that is, if Sinema and Manchin would shut their big mouths for once and just eat the $15 an hour minimum raise wage, then all kinds of people would be very, very, very happy about it and very, very, very pleased with the administration. And the administration would have a leg up on the election of 2024, which it doesn't have now, because it would have kept at least one of its promises. So, let that be the last message in here. We do have to run some errands this afternoon. And there we are. I'd like to thank Kay for coming. And Brandy and D. I suspect that's D in this case. And Jeff Denton is here. Hey, Jeff. Nice to see you. Hope everyone has a good afternoon. I'll see you this evening at 9 o'clock. And so until then, have a very nice Black Friday. Don't get caught in too many crowded stores. If you do, wear a mask. It helps. If Warnock wins in Georgia, will he be able to go right back to Congress? Oh yeah, he's in Congress now. He's in Congress until by January 3rd. If he wins in December 6th, okay, on Georgia, he just goes right back to his current term, and then he starts his new full 6-year term on January 3rd. That's how that would work. Any other questions you'd like me to answer before I leave for the afternoon? I have this person or people calling me 4 or 5 times a day. They appear on my phone as scam likely. Why would I have any reason to answer a phone call coming from scam likely? And I also have some other phone calls from people with similar phone numbers who leave me messages saying, my callback number is bip, 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 bip. And from my point of view, that means you don't want to tell me why you're calling, so I ain't calling you back. Why would people be stupid enough to do that day after day after day after day after day when they must know very well, or their robot must know, that I'm not going to call back until they tell me why they're calling? 2 instances of gross marketing stupidity. Anyway, have a great afternoon.